Michael, let me know I can start blabbing again.
Do it.
So, all right. So as I was saying before, I was really interrupted by Michael.
I know.
So the talk I've given a few times with Code Palooza, most recently presented to a group of developers in Toronto, just about how to leverage LinkedIn, how to build a brand, and we could talk about that. But I think also too, I've the talk I've really kind of done the last 2 or 3 years is recruiters suck, use them, right? So if you've been to any of the conferences, you probably are familiar with that title, which is basically just sharing how we operate as a crew, as a whole, as an industry, right? So usually break down markups and usually break down how we deal with candidates and the pitfalls of recruiting. And so for me, I don't know if anybody has, between those two topics, if anybody wants to raise their hand and say, yes, Taylor, talk about LinkedIn and the power of LinkedIn, or talk about Twitter and the power of Twitter, or actually just ramble about recruiters for 30 minutes, I can do either. I can talk for a very long time without taking a breath. So you just tell me what you want me to talk about.
It's a valuable asset.
Yeah, it's a very valuable asset. My wife hates it, but so does anybody have any?
She knew what she was getting into, though, right?
She did.
She knew.
First date, it was just me grilling her for like an hour, and she goes, that makes sense now.
Dating is like recruiting. Dating is absolutely like recruiting.
Yeah, you got to figure out if that one person across the table from you is worth it in about 5 minutes 100%. Or not. Yeah. So 4 years, we're celebrating our 4 years next month. So very
congratulations.
And
the new baby,
newborn.
Right?
Yeah, she's 3 months. My mother-in-law is practically moved in. Yeah. So the last 2 nights has been brutal. So I am running off pure adrenaline and 12 cups of coffee. Since no one's spoken up yet, I'm going to go. Yeah, David, go. Say what?
Interested in what you have to say about recruiting.
Yeah, I have a lot of things to say about recruiting. So first off, most of us are really bad at what we do. I think, and the recruiting talk is more Q&A. So the way this is going to go is the more questions you ask, the better from everybody here. I mean, I think a few kind of tips and tricks from a recruiting perspective. I think personally, you should, if you are wanting to jump ship to a new job, one, I think you always need a recruiter working for you. Right. And so obviously shout out JT and Jason on the call. If you have not worked with Vaco Cincinnati, they're the real deal. They are doing some cool shit. I cuss a lot. Hopefully everyone's okay with that and their kids aren't in the room. But yeah, I mean, Jason, JT and Cincinnati are doing some great stuff. And so in my opinion, I think you always need a recruiter working for you in the background. I know a lot of developers that I've placed, especially on the senior architect level, aren't really ever looking. Right. There was, I'm having a principal engineer on my podcast next week. If you want to check it out, Guidance Counselor 2.0. And we're basically going to talk about the recruiting process and how it works and how we work together. But it was a 6-month lead time. Right. So this was pre-COVID. He was very specific in what he wanted. And he was like, hey, like these are the requirements. And we worked together consistently for 6 months. I sent him a lot of things. He rejected a lot of things. But I think the whole notion, the entire job search process is completely jacked up. I think the whole submitting your resume places is absolutely asinine. I think, having one stock resume is completely stupid. I think recruiters as a whole are pretty stupid, which is why one of the tips and tricks I would say is use the 2 and 2 rule is what I call it. So look for a recruiter that's been at the same company for at least 2 years. And has been in your local market for 2 years, right? So Jason, how long have you been recruiting in Cincinnati for now?
Let me come off mute real quick. 12 years.
Yeah.
In Cincinnati.
So, yeah. And Jason, I'm pretty sure you're probably still learning about the Cincinnati market every single day.
Absolutely. There's always new companies coming in and so always learning.
Yeah. And so like, if you work with somebody that's been recruiting in your city for 1 to 2 years, like you got Jason, I mean, Jason's been recruiting longer in Cincinnati than I've been recruiting as a whole. So to put it in perspective, and so you really need to find a recruiter in your network that has been there, done that. I truly think that if you find a good recruiter, that you could never have to really be on the job boards ever again. I think it's that much of a tool for you. Another tip I would say is have 1 or 2 recruiters close to you, and I would BCC them on every job lead that you find. Because I will tell you, I either know or I've worked with almost every company in town. Same with Jason. So it's like, so if you have Jason and one of Jason's competitors on a BCC email, and you email me and I don't know any difference, if you just go, hey, ! Do you know about this company? I'm going to make the introductions. Right. So that's another tip and trick that I've really used a lot with developers here in Nashville during COVID that got laid off. Because if you work with 3 or 4 recruiters, you find a job posting on Indeed, and you take that job posting and you just email the 4 recruiters, BCC them, one of those 4 are going to know what's going on. And so
they're going to fight for you.
Yeah, they're going to fight for you, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we are so heavily commissioned off placements that like we are going to work our asses off for you. And so, and you need to take advantage of that. And so I've been pretty hype on those two, on those kind of topics for a bit now. I don't think you should ever submit your resume to a job posting, ever. I think you need to take the time and the responsibility to go to LinkedIn after you find that, Kroger is looking for, something, and you go to LinkedIn and you go, oh shit, I know Michael. Michael, do you know anything about this position? Actually, I do. It's with my other manager. Can you make introductions? Yeah, absolutely. Boom. Right. But people, it takes more work and people are inherently lazy. And so like no one's doing
a lot of times lazy in the wrong ways, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they cut the corners that would really add value, and they do the work that, takes a lot of time, but it's not benefiting them. It's interesting.
I see so many engineers on Twitter going, oh my gosh, I submitted 500 applications and I've gotten nowhere. Why didn't you stop after like 200?
Yeah.
Why did you keep going?
Well,
and
back
so,
to what you're saying.
Yeah.
So about referrals, the other thing is that generally people are happy to refer you into their company because a lot of times there's an incentive. So like,
correct.
Even if you're not a recruiter, your company might pay a $500 or $1,000 referral bonus, and who's going to pass that up?
Correct.
Yeah, I was talking to actually a group of boot camp students yesterday. I just emailed them like, hey, you should jump on Teen Tech. And they, was like, yeah, you could submit 100 resumes, or you can spend that time, getting to know people in the community, messaging some people on LinkedIn, just like you talk about, Taylor, like you creating those connections and getting around that resume pile, right? Like when you get put into that resume pile, it's like the black hole, right? But if you get the referral and then there's a reason for them to look at you specifically, I don't know, maybe you're the expert here. I should stop talking.
No, hey, no, I mean, honestly, man, you nailed it. I think right now, and I put out some videos on this. If you don't follow me on Twitter at Desseyn, TDESSEYN. Here, I'll just put it, obviously, to everybody.
Do it.
So that's my Twitter handle. I post tweets every single day about navigating the job search. My goal is, at the end of the day, is you can just follow me, follow my stuff, never have to work with another recruiter and find a job on your own, right? And so I also have a texting community where if you want in, it's just text from me to you when I say a community. But I have about 200 people that are part of my texting community that I send out daily job tips and tricks. And so definitely join that. But my thing is like a recruiter needs to be able, you need to work with a recruiter who's willing to go above and beyond, right? I think recruiters get such a bad reputation because it's like, hey, Tyler, you looking for a job? Well, no. All right, have a good one. And it's like, shit. All right, well, bye.
I got 2 of those today.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right? It's just unreal. And so for me, Bill, thanks for joining, man. Bill's from Nashville as well. I'm glad to see a little Nashville.
Hey, Bill.
Nashville
Welcome.
love.
Welcome, Mark. Good to see you today.
But for me, it's like finding a recruiter that's like, hey, first off, if they're not willing to do a Zoom call, like forget them, right? Like I do so many Zoom calls with developers across the country now because of COVID. And it's like, it just takes 8 minutes. Like, it's not a big deal. And if a recruiter doesn't even have the respect for you and that wants to build the relationship, right? Like I know Nick Howard's face now. I know Stephen Hicks's face now. I know David Morgan's face now, right? And it's like those face-to-face interactions are going to obviously propel you to build a relationship with that recruiter, especially across the country. But then also too, like, do they offer you how to write a resume? Right. One of the questions I would ask a recruiter is like, hey, do you mind looking at my resume and editing it for me? I will tell you 90% of recruiters would say no, or just not get back to you.
So how do you, okay, here's a thing, sore point. How do you know if a recruiter's gonna doctor your resume and lie?
So always ask to see the resume before they submit. And Cassandra, definitely speak up. Jason, I mean,
because that happens,
like,
right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, sometimes I doctor up resumes, but then I send it back to the developer. Like literally, I have a guy interviewing for me tomorrow that I doctored his resume because I knew what the client wanted, and he got the interview because I added stuff. Now, I sent it back to him before I submitted, but I mean, recruiters need to know that stuff. You know, another thing too, if you want to check it out, go to my website at Vaco. So I have resume templates. I have 10 questions to ask recruiters when they send you a job opportunity. Because most I spoke at Chattanooga's.net meetup like 2 years ago. And I gave those questions out, and one of the .NET developers used my questions on me like a year later. It was awesome. But check those out, right? There's simple questions like, hey, how many people have you placed with this manager before? How long have you been working with this manager? Like, if it's a contract to hire position, what's the conversion salary, right? It's the questions that Jason, me, JT ask our clients every single day, but most recruiters don't have that information. So if you ask those 10 questions, just have an Excel, like have a signature on an email. And if they send that to you, they're like, hey, what's up, Mark? I have a job opportunity for you. You're like, great. Can you answer these questions for me real quick? And I've had a few developers in Nashville use it that DM me on Twitter, and they go, I haven't heard back from the recruiter ever again. So again, use that website. I also have some videos too on how to navigate the job search. I also think LinkedIn's crazy as hell right now. I think I've had people get job offers because they made one video about themselves. Right. This is kind of going in, Dave, I'm kind of pivoting. David Morgan, I'm kind of pivoting to my other talk, but it's you know, I've been posting this stuff. I had one guy that was at Vaco Nashville. He left. He went back up to his hometown in Milwaukee, and he even messaged me. He goes, I'm tired of submitting my resume. He's a recruiter that worked at Vaco, and he still was blindly sending his resume everywhere. And he goes, what do I do? And I go, just make a video about yourself and just say, hey, listen, I'm back in my hometown, would love to connect. You know, how are you doing? The Vikings suck, right? Like it was those four things.
I'm face bombing so hard.
Yeah, I know. And so he made that video and got a job offer 3 days later. Over 6,000
Video is scary,
views.
but it's so powerful.
So powerful. It's so powerful. And so now I'm not saying everybody go on and do a video, but if you speak at conferences and you're comfortable talking, I would live document. Because I'd say what the tech community is awesome. Like I'm super blessed to like have been introduced to a lot of people within the dev community over Twitter, and which is another platform that's really big from a networking perspective. That's growing like crazy right now, or it's already been big, but I'm really kind of experimenting more with it. But it's like I mean, hell, like Michael could like my tweet, and all of Michael's followers see my tweet, and you start to become, and you start to build, and you start to network. And what my goal is to really educate people. At the end of the day, I'm trying to make you become a recruiter as a developer. Now, y'all chose the developer life for a reason, right? You guys are great problem solvers. I am awful at problem solving, right? Like I can trust me. I'm pretty bad. I can talk on no end, like with no breath, right? Like people aren't blessed with that. And I understand that, But I think from digging deep problem solving, I think engineers are really good with that. And I think that's what networking is. So that's kind of my rant right now. Does anybody have any questions? Any questions, comments, anything you've seen, any horror stories? Usually all my conferences start out by horror stories with recruiters, and then I try to say what we were thinking.
Hello, my name is Justin Reed.
What's up, man?
Hey, Justin. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, you were talking about 10 questions for job recruiters. Is there is there some way I could see that list?
Yeah, so if you want to go to vaco.com/Taylor, I put it in the chat.
I'm
Yeah,
reposting.
go to that.
So, because the weird thing about Zoom is if somebody joins late, they don't see
they
the
can't see
messages
it.
that were there.
Yeah, here. Oh, yeah.
I just did it.
And Sean, it looks like Sean just did the whole
Yeah.
PDF. Thanks, Sean.
Nice.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah,
It was,
so
it was
use
hard
that.
to find on the site, so I finally found it.
Yeah, I'm trying to get better with the UI UX side of things, Sean. Be kind, man. Be kind.
It's all good. I just wasn't sure of the name. That was all.
Yeah. So, but again, save that as an email signature before you even talk to a recruiter. Get them to answer as many of those questions as possible. Should they answer all of them? Sometimes I don't know all of them, but they should know a good majority of it.
And they shouldn't be afraid to say,
See you,
I
Steven.
don't know,
Thanks for
but I'll find
joining.
out the answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Steven, thanks for joining, man. Yeah. If they don't want to go find the answer, that's a problem. So, that was kind of a crash course. Again, resume
Love it.
templates are pretty big, so check that out on my website. Connect with me. I'd be glad to help in any way I can. And again, like, our Vaco office is incredible with Jason and JT. Turbo on here. Cassandra is incredible too. I'm very blessed that she's on here. I've always looked up to her and kind of what she's done. So follow her as well for another good. Go ahead.
Disclaimer, I'm a retired recruiter. I'm a community manager now.
But even better.
You can't take the hat off, though. You
You
can't
can't.
take the recruiter hat off. It doesn't
You
go
can't.
away.
No, it never goes
Cassandra,
away.
are you doing like any personal branding consulting or anything like that?
I do occasionally do like personal branding and career coach consulting. Not too often, but it is something that I've done in the past. Like I have a talk called like finding a course to your dream job, and it's a workshop, and I'll like package that up and send it to people to figure out what they want to do. But
and I've sat in on some of Cassandra's talks too, and they're incredible. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a whole another topic, right? Is branding. Do you need a brand in the job search? No, you don't. My brother has 0 brands and he's done just fine for himself. But
it sure makes it easier, right? I
it makes it easier, right?
Dang.
I mean, so I'm having Michael on my LinkedIn Live on Monday. Y'all check it out on Monday at 9 a.m. Central. Michael's coming on, and we're talking about the benefits of public speaking and just branding too, right? With conferences and whatnot. And I mean, it's open doors, right? I mean, Michael and I've talked about it. Tyler, you're involved with conferences as well. I'm sure it's open doors for you. I mean, Reed Evans, who's obviously a dear friend of, I know, this show or of Michael, right? I mean, I'm a big fan of Reed. I mean, Reed and I had a great conversation one day and some stuff led to it, and so it just is something. And I know, Bill, it's really cool following you, man. Like, you're getting really loud on LinkedIn and posting on LinkedIn now, and I'm seeing your name pop up more. I mean, it's just, when you say brand, it's just more of like putting your name out there in any way possible. So
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Taylor, just to elaborate on that a little bit, because
yeah,
when someone says brand, you think McDonald's or Coca-Cola or whatever. You don't.
yeah.
From a personal standpoint, and maybe I should read the Story Brand book, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't read. I don't even know if I remember how to read anymore. I just read resumes and that's about it. But, for me, it's people try to overcomplicate brands, and it's just like, what are you passionate about? Right? Like, honestly, like, my brother has a great music taste, and he can make some killer playlists on Spotify and just pimp those out and create a following from his Spotify playlist. Right. And it's like, I know Cassandra and I are really big on personal brand and just talking about it. If you're like really big into like I don't know, video games. I mean, there's a whole cult community. If you're around mechanical keyboards, that is a crazy rabbit hole on Twitter you can get down with mechanical keyboards. Goodness gracious. Bunch of nerds.
And like custom keycaps and
it's
like
crazy.
Have you
it's
seen
how
those little
hard do you want it
terrarium?
to like it just
okay, so
I don't even know what that word is,
seen
Michael. What is
these
that?
keycaps? Have you? Oh, you're talking about the like mechanical pressure. How much pressure? Do you talk about terrarium?
Yeah, that.
Yeah. So they make these little keycaps. Have you seen these? Anybody originally like seen these? And where it's like
I'm sure
little
I've seen
plants cemented in acrylic. I'll find a link and a picture, and you can like buy one and like replace your escape key so that it's a little terrarium looking thing. It's just like all these little plants, in a keycap.
But see, that's what I'm saying, right? Like people develop thousands and thousands of following on mechanical keyboards, right? So it's like picking something that you're passionate about. Sorry, I think someone's trying to say something. No? Okay. Yeah. So David, I mean, going back to your question, man, I mean, it's just whatever you're passionate about, right? Like if you're, if it's photography, right? It's amateur photography. If it's, hey, listen, like I'm really passionate about, I think I saw there's a new React framework called Remix now. Did I see that yesterday?
That's
yeah.
Fresh.
See,
that's super
I know
fresh.
things. I know things. Yeah. Shout out Nader Davitt, who I had on the Unicorn Finders podcast. That's the only reason why I know it. He's part of the React training team, but it's like,
oh,
it's
nice.
Like,
okay.
Yeah. So you can get like super green with this stuff in tech, right? Like JWT, man. Like you can just blog about JWT problems for the next like 6 years of your life, right? But like, and you're like, oh yeah, like David's a JWT guy. Like recruiters against recruiters, right? Mark, it's like you said, right? I'm the recruiters against recruiters guy. Like it's just something you're passionate about.
That's who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. And just, I mean, me, it's like floral shirts, right? 1, I love Jimmy Buffett. 2, I love the beach. 3, I love 80s vibes.
You're not old enough to love Jimmy Buffett. I'm old.
I know, man. But I grew up, my dad listened to Jimmy Buffett all the time. But going to code conferences, all y'all developers wear black t-shirts.
It doesn't make me feel old that your dad listened to Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah, not at all. No.
I'm not offended at all.
You boys are beautiful. Stop that.
Yeah, we're
Taylor,
just going to sit here and drink
Jimmy
our
Buffett
tea.
concert yet?
No, I've not been to a Jimmy. I hate concerts, but that's a whole nother issue.
Oh, Buffett concerts are a whole other thing, though. They're an
Oh,
event.
yeah, it's like an
entire
I've been to like
subculture.
14.
Yeah.
I've heard. But like you can like blog about Jimmy. So there's this guy Vaco in our Raleigh office. All he does is talk about concerts he went to and pairs it with a beer. That's it.
Good.
That's all he does.
So
But you
I
know him.
posted a
You know
I
that
posted
guy.
a link
Exactly.
to a post from Jeff Atwood, and it's called "How to Stop Sucking and Be Awesome Instead," and it's got a 3-step thing in it, which I kind of love. It's number 1, embrace the suck. Like you may suck at it, but that's okay. And then number 2 is do it in public. Like tell people about what you're doing. Like I work with a couple boot camps in the area, just talking to their developers and stuff. And I love it when I see them just posting on LinkedIn, like, hey, learning about SQL today. I thought it was really interesting. I particularly liked this part of it. And, looking forward to learning more. Just that, just like doing that once a week even is enough to differentiate, I feel like, where most people in the job market aren't even doing so much as that, where you're just saying what you're learning about or what's interesting you right now.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of stuff I just love to see.
Yeah. And it's just, and I think, people are like, oh, Grace, you're saying I should blog now. Right. No, I'm not. But I think if you do want to post somewhere, it's LinkedIn. Because the way LinkedIn works is if David, you tag me in one of your posts, I had a great conversation with Taylor today. All of my followers see it.
Yep. And people don't go to your blog.
Exactly. No one does. Everybody. So believe it or not, I've hired a small marketing team around me, a bunch of interns. I have a team of 5 interns helping from a marketing effort. And we talked about, we have multiple calls a week and talk about like microsites and kind of the way marketing is right now.
Microsites.
Everybody goes to Instagram and just stays on Instagram, or everybody goes to LinkedIn and just stays on LinkedIn. Like nobody is like going to like your blog to read that anymore. They're just going to read all that on the platform that they're currently consuming it on, if that makes sense. So I think you should just live blog every single day on LinkedIn where it just says post. And if you suck at writing, like do voice memos. I actually have started to increase time, or save time rather, not increase it, save it. I start to reply back to candidates with voice memos.
Oh.
Yeah, like I'm so tired of emailing that I just send a voice memo. Like, and if anybody needs their resume edited, by the way, if y'all need your resume looked at, I'll do it. Just shoot me an email, taylor@vaco.com. But I'll send you a voice memo because it's so much faster. I can send you a 3-minute voice memo with more information than I can in a paragraph. And so I think, you know, if you don't want to type, just do a voice memo. Like you don't have to over engineer this.
Here's the thing about blogs.
Yep.
The thing that makes blogs win is that they're yours. And especially if you don't have it on a Blogspot URL or something, if you just have your own domain, even if it's on a service, but if you have your own domain name, then you have your own domain name and you can take the content with you anywhere you go and it's yours, and nobody's going to say, oh, that's too marketing-y, can't allow it here. We don't like your use of language here. We don't like your promotion of a technology. It's yours.
Yeah.
That's the thing that having your own blog does for you that no other platform does.
Sure.
So I like to, if I have something really good to share, I make a LinkedIn article out of it, but I also make a blog post out of it. But
yeah,
wow, people pay way more attention to the LinkedIn article. Wow. Like
it's
by
crazy.
10 times at least.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's nuts right now.
But then it'll get buried.
It depends on your level. Like, so if you're just, you know, if you're a name and you can get that draw, like,
dude, you don't know. See, I argue against you, bro.
Really?
You don't have to have a name. There is this guy, National Software School. He posted a. Oh, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So I was saying for a blog, owning your there's a thing
Got
about
it.
people.
I thought you meant a LinkedIn
like,
post. I was like, dude, I've had guys that post one thing that just skyrocket from our engagement.
No, okay. I got it.
Michael.
I'm talking about like,
Michael.
So if you've progressed to that level, or you know, if you're getting there, owning your content, having your own blog, definitely valuable. But I definitely, you know, I talked to Corey House at one point. You know, I was like, yeah, I've been really thinking about blogging and need to get a blog set up. He's like, just start. Just throw something on Medium.
Yeah.
Just don't let the platform get in your way. Just start doing it.
Yep.
You know, and you'll get good at it. Once you keep doing it, and then you can refine, say, okay, now I'm putting my content on my own thing. You know, you can grind. It doesn't mean once you start somewhere, you don't have to continue doing the exact same thing. We grow, we progress, you know. So,
but just do what you're passionate about. I mean, that's my biggest thing. It's like, you know, for me, I got to the point at Vaco. I was like, man, I'm doing the same shit every day. I'm DMing random developers, trying to get them to talk to me, and I work with them. I see Cassandra like nodding her head, but it's the same shit every single day. And it's like, you know what? Forget it. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do something I'm passionate about, and that's educate people on how to be better at not only their job, but the job search. And like, literally, like I get I'm up at 8 p.m. Like my daughter's down for like the first, obviously for those, it's like the first sleep before you have to do the ghost feed at like 11 or 12, like that type of thing. Like I'm just like pounding away on the keyboard, right? Because I love it. But it's like, but if you're blogging and you're trying to develop content on stuff you don't like, it's going to be hard and you're not going to last that long.
It won't be very good.
It won't be very good.
Yeah.
I would agree with that, Mark. It won't be very good at all. So cool. That was fun.
What type of things are you seeing as far as specific skills that are in demand right now?
Yes.
All of them.
All of them.
I always say this, like I'm one recruiter in one city. Like, you know, again, I do have a fairly good beat on what Cincinnati's working on because, I mean, Jason and I are dear friends, you know, and there's a lot of cross-pollination now between offices. And And it seems like Cincinnati's tech stack lines up very similarly to Nashville's, but I mean, cloud, right? And I think I'm starting to see, I don't know if it's AWS fatigue, but I'm starting to see more people move to Azure.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
I'm obviously JavaScript's a thing. I think it'll always be a thing. You know, I just think companies, and this is one thing I talk about with my other podcast, Unicorn Finders, and we talked about this live on Wednesday, but it's like, I think more than trends, I think companies need to be very aware of their branding and marketing during this time, and making sure that they treat the interviewers and the people interviewing for them across the country with respect. Because I see a lot of companies right now getting too big for their britches, and really handling the hiring process poorly. And that's another thing I've kind of gone off on recently. Like, companies need to be very aware of that. But I say from a technical perspective, man, I mean, cloud serverless is being a thing right now. I'm seeing everybody moving serverless. So again, that's just kind of two things that I'm seeing right now.
Do you recommend getting certification in Azure or AWS? Or?
I would say cloud is the only area that I think certifications are worth a damn anymore. Okay. I think if you really want to do something, like, go volunteer your time and deploy something to the cloud and have it in GitHub and put it on your resume as like freelance work. And I had one guy in an interview get a job because he was lacking Azure as a professional experience, but deployed it to one of his, like, it was like a church needed something done. It was kind of a robust system. And he got the job because he had enough Azure experience because of his side project, not because of a side project. Yeah, go ahead.
So I tell people, especially when they're starting out, and this is biased by my own experience, but I thought I'd get your take on this. I tell them, ask people you know, ask your network, do you need something built? What can I write? What can I code? Can I just build you a website? Is there an application? Is there an Excel spreadsheet? You need me to write some VBA that's going to automate this Excel spreadsheet for you? What can I write to? And there's two things there. You're working with there's a bunch of things. You're working with a customer. You're learning how to deliver a product. You are making a little money off of it, probably, and you're able to show a finished product at the end to your upcoming employer, saying, "Hey, I shipped this. This is in production. This runs this person's company or this part of their their
and
workflow."
You get a testimonial.
Absolutely.
So that's huge. I'm going to harp on that for a second. If you don't have at least three references on your LinkedIn, do that now, or recommendations. Like, that is it. So my other talk that I'm starting to give is really how to land your dream job with social media. And I break down 2.5 hours of how to use LinkedIn. And I mean, I go that granular. There's enough there. And one of them is, if I'm looking at a developer for one job, 2 developers for one job, and one developer's got 5 recommendations and one is 0, who do you think I'm calling first? So in free work, the one thing they can give you, like all my interns right now, I said, I'm writing testimonials for all of y'all. Like, what is the one thing to get out of that? And quite frankly, like, if somebody sees that I wrote a testimonial and they've worked with me in the past, so like, if Taylor likes this person, I'm going to like this person.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I'm going to harp on the reply that I made to you is, send them a recommendation first, and then you can ask them for a recommendation.
Yeah.
And oftentimes you don't have to even ask, because they're like, "Oh, they gave me a recommendation. I'll give them one back." I definitely ask if you need it, but
usually the candidates turn down a job. For me, I usually get them to write a recommendation for me. I was like, you turn down the ability to make money, so you can do is write me a recommendation.
So
oh my God, Taylor, you're my hero.
How you like Gary Vee, and he's all about, like, just help people, just
doing the right thing is always the right thing.
Yeah.
So Michael, I actually I got a success story. You remember the Alexa skill talk you did a couple months ago with the software development? So, or craft.
Yes.
So while we were doing that, I was actually building Alexa skill, just to have that experience of building Alexa skill. Stick it on my resume. I gave it over to the broker that I was working with. I'm in commodities, just so you guys know. And so basically now you can find what the uranium price, the current price of uranium is now in the Alexa skill. So
That's awesome.
It's something I developed. It's just,
I'm gonna go ahead and use that.
just like, uranium price. But no, I was building
That's
it
awesome.
during the talk, and I gave it to him. He's like, "How much do you want?" I was like, "Okay." I was just doing it for to pad the resume.
Yeah.
He gave me money. So.
Well, then there's this whole argument of like, do I take on free work? Do I not take on free? And listen, like I post them on Twitter and it went nuts. And there was a lot of people that get very, very angry when they're like, no, don't ever take on free work. It devalues you. And again, I get that. But I think, again, if you want to gain a skill, if you don't have a job, I would absolutely do that.
Yeah.
So cool. That was fun, y'all.
And a lot of times you can find people to pay you, even if it's not that much. Like my first thing that I built, I spent 3 months building it. I think I got like $2,000 or $3,000 out of it, which, it's not much for 3 months of work, but I was learning the entire time. So.
Yeah. Cool.
How has, I have a recruiting question. Just because I'm curious, even though I've been out of it for a minute. It seems to me like, because I'm seeing with like user groups and meetups, there's a lot more now variety, whereas, maybe you don't live in a big city, but you can attend a meetup because it's virtual. How is that affecting recruiting? Is it giving candidates more options and more selection locations or job locations?
Or more competition.
Or more competition,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm real curious.
Yeah, I mean, I just placed an engineer from Oregon. I thought I never would have met before COVID. I mean, we have companies in Nashville that are closing down their headquarters or closing down their offices and doing full remote now. That's never would have happened. I had a developer move up here as COVID was hitting because they told him he needed to move, and then they closed the office down.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, it's more competition. Jason, what are you seeing? I mean, we're obviously recruiting across the country now.
Yeah. I mean, definitely across the country, but you also don't want to take the focus off the local market either.
Sure.
I've seen, some of our recruiters have, in my opinion, and my opinion doesn't carry a ton of weight, but they basically, I've been really harping on them, like, hey, don't ignore the local market. Like, yeah, if you can find somebody outside, and we've got a bunch of clients that'll do 100% remote, and they've got all the skill sets you're looking for, then great, but don't ignore it, because it's very easy as a recruiter to sit there and say, oh, well, I'm just going to go for the person that has the skills, right? Versus even people that are locally that are on the upswing, right? But the flip side too, I actually did a bunch of interviews yesterday for one of our boot camps here locally. And I told them, like, if you get a job offer, take it. I mean, because if you don't, there's somebody that might be sitting in California that'll take it. So.
And the last thing you want is for California people to have a job.
Oh.
I mean, the salary differential from California to everywhere else alone.
Yeah.
So from California and New York, it's a challenge.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how salaries evolve. And I think we're going to see regression in the mean, but,
I don't know. That's how we got one of our awesome senior guys is he was in San Francisco and wanted to get out and wanted to find a job before he left. And we're a fully remote company anyway.
Great company. Results X, great company. Good people. Any other questions? I mean, thank you so much, Michael. I mean, this has been a blast hanging out with y'all. It's really cool to see some Nashville folks on here, Knoxville, and then I'm assuming the rest is Cincinnati. So I already have a
Woo!
Oh, Cleveland. Nice.
Yeah.
I love it. I have a Kareem Hunt on my fantasy team. He's doing great. He's doing great things. We need him healthy on Sunday. I'm 6-1. So
anybody else doing fun stuff this week or this weekend? Anything exciting?
Bagging up trick or treat candy during this call.
Nice.
Dude,
trick or treats in an hour.
So this is like my thing. It's the Hershey's special dark chocolate, like variety pack with like the Crispies and the peanuts and the crunchies. Mm-hmm. My mother-in-law bought me 2 bags of these. She's an angel.
there's been all this drama around like I live in a very hippy dippy neighborhood of Columbus, and there's been all this drama about like how do we trick or treat safely, and like I'm gonna put the candy in baggies on a table on my patio. I'm gonna
throw them at kids.
That'll work.
People are doing like well, people are doing like these tunnels that you deliver stuff in. I mean, I'm seeing some really crazy solutions.
Tunnels.
Did you see
Yeah,
Jeff
like PVC
Blankenberg's
pipes.
post?
Oh yeah.
He was one.
Did you see
Yep.
Jeff's? Yeah.
Yep.
So I think he's doing that. He's the kind of guy who just does that. It's like, I have an excuse to build something.
If you look
Oh,
up
yeah.
extra
You know?
in the dictionary, you see a picture of Jeff Blankenberg.
And some people now are doing candy drones.
Oh, that's fun.
That'd be kind of
Yeah,
fun.
that's too 21st century. We can do catapults. Go back.
I'm just joking about like catapults. around here.
Slingshots, like a little
Just
Goonies
like
action.
that.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking slingshots, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was curious, which neighborhood do you live in, Cassandra? If I'm allowed to
I'm in-
ask.
I'm in Clintonville.
Clintonville. Okay, I biked through Clintonville this July. I took a day trip up there and biked around, and we biked to I think the Rose Gardens up there.
Yeah.
That's
mhm,
about
Buckstone
right.
Park
Yeah.
of Roses. Yep.
So we saw a sign for Clintonville, and we're like, "Oh, this is a pretty nice area."
Yeah, it's a like very. I heard somebody describe it as a neighborhood where you'll see a house with a pride flag next to a house that has a statue of the Virgin Mary in front of it. Like it's very diverse, very open-minded. It's I don't know, it's a good fit.
More
for me.
fun if it's the same house.
You see that around here too. It's funny. So yeah,
Love
I've
it.
been bagging this.
Are you
candy
like in
up.
Nashville, Taylor? Is that home now? Are you there solid? Are you?
Yeah.
You were
Yeah.
in Raleigh at one point, right? As you said.
Yeah, I was in Raleigh for a year. I talked. We don't have an Austin office, and so I talked about opening up our Austin office briefly to one of our partners. But my mother-in-law is an angel, and so that's one of the reasons why we did not move. So,
Gotcha.
Yep.
In Austin, opportunity but competition, right? I mean, like that would be. You're from Austin, Texas, or?
Yeah, I thrive off competition. I love it.
Like, bring it.
Yeah.
Nashville's a great town, though. I love Nashville.
Yeah, it's awesome. Tech's cool, man. I mean, we're growing. Obviously, we have some ways to go with some things from a tech perspective, salary being one of them. But with Amazon coming here, really helping kind of the salary. Yeah, I mean, it's going up. But yeah, I mean, we have some great engineers in town, and very, very thankful.
Is it medical really strong down there?
Medical strong, and it's not like VBA medical either. I mean, there's some cool stuff on like the big data side, and it's not as crusty as you may think. So
Right. And actually, isn't Columbus similar?
I thought Columbus is like ecom, isn't it? Columbus like heavy.
We have Chase Bank and insurance, and then very
Nationwide,
heavy.
yep.
What's what I'm looking for? Like retail, like fashion retail,
Retail,
like
yeah,
DSW.
retail.
And then startups, and then like obviously the state stuff. It's a mix, but I haven't worked for a Columbus-based company for a few years now. I'm going to a Detroit-based company soon. So
Did Columbus have a startup exit in the last couple days?
I don't know. I mean, so we've had some really good startup stories like Cover My Meds, and now Root Insurance. I think just went public.
I think it was Root. Yeah,
It
that
just
one
went
must
public.
be
Yeah,
it,
Root
'cause-
was the new one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a
Because there
couple
was all
friends there.
kinds of stuff on the Twitters about that. So
Yeah, one of my friends' face was like featured on a stock exchange thing, and they were all excited to post it on Facebook.
Awesome.
So
yeah, who is it? Keith who is there, or who is it?
Keith Wettinger,
Root.
yep.
Okay, cool. He's a good guy.
He's one hell of a small world story. He's somebody I met through tech Twitter and crew Twitter, and then hired him, and then
Nice.
I moved on, then he moved on, and now he's like one of my really
Mhm.
good tailgate friends. We were texting each other last night during the soccer game, actually.
That's
So
awesome.
that's my biggest tip: is this tech community is an extremely small world. Like, I literally just accepted a job from somebody I met 8 years ago at a conference I ran, and I've just stayed in touch with. So like, you never know when you're going to run into people. Don't burn bridges. Don't piss people off. Like, be as helpful as you can. Call it karma, call it what you will, but
Play the long game.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yep.
I want to. There's a book called The Incredible Power of the Long Game. I want to read that one. I haven't done it yet, but I'm working on Atomic Habits right now, and I'm enjoying that one.
Oh, do most
Do you also have books they recommend? Go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
Oh, do people change cities a lot? I mean, you move around one market, that's one thing, but how much does it matter to play the long game in a local market if you're not going to be in that market very long?
Well, nowadays with COVID, location matters even less. But like, it's 2 years ago, I was speaking at a conference in Virginia Beach, and there were like 3 other people from Ohio there speaking. We never see each other in person in Ohio, even though one of us lives 20 minutes from the other. But like, we'd all land in Virginia Beach, and you never know where things are gonna go. So
yeah, yeah, especially for like speakers and stuff, you know, or conference organizing or whatever. You start to get those connections, and it's not just in your market; it's all over.
Right.
And you know.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I've lived in really one place for 35 years, and I just get these great reactions from my girlfriend who is not like that. And I'll just, oh yeah, I got this great lead in a gig from some guy I worked with 25 years ago, and she's like staring like, what? I'm like, yes, you keep up relationships for decades, of course you do. And yeah.
Well, hey, y'all, I got to bounce for a 4. I appreciate y'all a ton. Thank you so much for joining. Michael, looking forward to catching up with y'all Monday. And y'all connect with me on LinkedIn, please. Okay.
Taylor, it's been fun. Thank you so much.
See y'all. Have a good one.
Hey, Taylor.
Thanks. Good to see
See
you.
you, Taylor.
Thank you very much.
I'll hang out for a little while if anybody wants to still hang, but totally up to you. Thanks everybody for joining. I really appreciate it. I hope you had fun.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Michael, for putting it on.
I enjoyed it. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, my girlfriend got a job lead in Austin, and she's talking about, I'm just going to bounce to Austin. I'm like, do people do that? What?
So my last job search, I put out on Twitter that I was looking, and I had like 144 retweets. All these people, just contacting me with leads. This most recent time, I was laid off, and I didn't even announce a public job search. I just went to a small group of my speaker friends, and one happened to say, "Hey, we're hiring on our team." Like, it's having a network and knowing those people. And these are people I've helped, I've taught, I've spoken to, I've at times hired, placed in the past. So people want to give that back.
And a lot of it is they like you. I mean, that's, I get these, I get recommendations from people like, actually, you don't know my skills. You actually don't.
Yeah. But if they like you, you can get your way in.
Yeah.
I mean, don't be an asshole, help other people. Like, those are, you can learn the tech skills, you can learn the tools.
Takes you a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but learning how to not be an asshole was very difficult for me. So yeah, that's where I had to focus.
Good for you for learning.
You put in the work on that one.
Yeah.
I put in the work on that, damn it.
Yeah. Or even like how to have a small talk conversation. Like, that's a whole set of skills that not everybody knows.
Yeah.
But
Yes. Yes. I got a whole story about that.
Yep.
Whole story.
Yep. The cliche about, I really don't, the cliche about developers being these like super one-dimensional nerds who can't have a conversation, or like the Big Bang Theory joke, which is not even, I'm sorry, I don't see that in real life. I've never really seen it in real life. I've worked around software developers for 30 plus years, and there's a few of those.
There's a few.
Yeah, let's be honest here. It's not like they don't exist. It's just that, yeah.
But like the
They're just
first
hiding at the same company.
Yeah, the first person who comes to mind is somebody I worked with in 1990. So like, it isn't,
Well, I was one of those, and that was the whole reason I got into conference speaking, was to force myself to get out of that. Because, like, at the heart of it, I'm super introverted. Like, I don't want to talk to anybody.
And now you come on T and Tech almost every week.
Well,
Awesome.
yeah, now I'm here, and I've, for the past 2 years, I've spoken at, several conferences, and it's getting better.
If it makes you feel better, lots of speakers are introverts. I am not, but lots of speakers are introverts. They're exhausted by speaking.
It's usually the ones that say, "Oh yeah, that they are." They say, "Well, I'm not."
Yeah, introverts are an interesting breed to me. Like I get it, but it's continually surprising to me still when a speaker's like, I'll see them doing their talk and then socializing in the hallway, and they're like, "Oh, but then I had to go take a nap for 5 hours because I'm introverted." So it's interesting. Something to be aware of so you don't tire out if you're an extrovert, don't tire out your introvert friends.
Oh yeah.
We can be a lot.
I'm sure I've been guilty of that.
Same.
But I feel like if I've got a coworker who's introverted, if I'm, and I've done gig work like forever, but if I'm on a team, if I'm working with a team where there's somebody like Tyler who's natural, it's like, let him do his job. He'll answer questions when he needs to.
Mm-hmm.
He's not being rude. It's I don't get, to a large degree, I actually don't get what the problem is. It's like, okay, the guy's introverted, whatever, get over it.
Exactly. Be empathetic about other people is what you're saying. Like
I actually
everybody's the
lead
same.
several teams, so yeah, I don't really get that option anymore. Like
Thanks, David. See you.
Yeah. And we have way more international workers than we used to, and it's like always increasing. And yeah, there's legit cultural differences. There's people whose English isn't quite native level. Conversations are going to be different, and again, it's like, yeah, I think we can accommodate that. That's not really a hard thing to accommodate.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready for my nap.
Stop recording if you guys are all cool with that.
Bro, chit-chatting. I know you're asking for book